with these 310s, the story actually sort of goes sideways and then downwards and downwards and downwards. I would say the slope has become less steep with this bike, but it is a story that heads downwards, so we might as well start at the top. The biggest issue with the bike remains vibration. In terms of your experience, and TVS has successfully, from the first 310 till the latest RR 310, till this RTR 310, worked on it, mostly ignition map work, mostly calibrations to make the engine smoother and smoother and smoother. What I discovered this time is up to about 5,000 RPM, which is what you'd use in the city for most of it, the motorcycle is smooth enough. You will not complain. Vibration starts beyond that. It comes up to a point where between this engine's noise, it is a reasonably noisier engine than what passes for normal in this class. Between the way it vibrates and the way it feels like it's a little bit reluctant to do these things, you're not going to enjoy the full performance that this bike has. But now I would say if you're saying I'm going to ride it around the city, I'm like the urban mode or the rain mode rider, there is a reasonable chance that even if you buy the bike, you won't regret it too much. So that is a fundamental change from the last time, where it was this vibration setup and a little bit worse, and it had a very short gearing because the rear sprocket was much larger than this bike has, which has now been, it's like a normal reasonable size sprocket now. Between those two changes, it feels like a lot more easier to live with. The subtle change in there which makes a huge impact is that the last bike's throttle response was very aggressive. It almost felt like it was badly tuned, kind of aggressive, and it would basically jump all the time. So it wasn't a bike that settled down. Now it does. To give you an example of an electric car that you drove, where you said if you go to full throttle, it doesn't give you full performance immediately. It sort of says, you sure? Correct. And then the performance comes. It feels like that now.
That was the BYD C-Line.
The C-Line. So it's like that now, which makes it a little bit easier to live with, where you have a moment where it has not immediately started to react to what you do. Because when it does start to react, this is a torquey, energetic motorcycle. The problem is the refinement and the energy don't always talk to each other. So you keep sort of getting caught between that emotion of it really wants to go and actually doesn't enjoy going.
Right.
And it's that disconnect that keeps bringing me back to this thing saying, for this money, you can do better than this.
Right.
On the other side, this is a fantastic frame. The way it handles, the way it responds, the feedback that it gives you, the Michelin Road 5 tires, the brakes, it's very hard to fault this bike on that front. And what you should remember is, I now connected back to the 390 Duke also. This feels like the wheelbase is one wheel, it's not two wheels. So the reactions are very quick and they are predictable, they are stable, they are trustworthy. So it does, whether you're making a lane change in traffic or you're out on the highway on a long sweeping corner, it's confident, it's stable, and it's very, very responsive. And therefore, if this bike had a better engine, I think this bike would actually go multiple levels higher in terms of how strongly you'd feel about it. It's the engine that breaks that continuum and keeps this motorcycle feeling like, that's a lot of money for this.
I remember this thing, the interesting thing about this chassis and engine, and because it comes from the engine, is that it's that reverse incline engine, is that despite the wheelbase being fairly, not small, but it's a compactish wheelbase.
Yep.
The swing arm length was massive, which is what would also give it that stability and that additional control.
Yep.
So when you're saying it's extra, it's really flickable and it's really quick, is stability an issue then?
No.
It's
That's
not.
what I'm saying. It's just on it.
Right.
And if there was a stability issue from an inferior tire or something like that, which will show up, this has fantastic tires. If there was a confidence issue that would come from the brakes being slightly on his beast, they have good brakes. So it's very hard to fault the frame. The fundamental ride quality is very good. And we, as usual, got the top-of-the-line BTO models with all the options on it. And honestly, I would just not want to ride these bikes at all.
This is the adjustable suspension.
Yeah, I don't want to ride these bikes because the price of the motorcycle I'm riding, because I've just ridden a motorcycle with 35 bhp, that is before GST corrections, 10,000 rupees more than a 390 Duke.
How much is that? Sorry.
3,10,000.
3,10,000.
Ex-showroom. Whereas the Duke is 2,95,000. And the Duke has like, 10 bhp on top.
Oh, wow.
Almost all of the feature set. It just makes no sense to have this bike at that price point with all of these features. So I want to be very clear about this. The pricing of this motorcycle has always been on the expensive side before the GST benefit will occur.
Correct.
Right? To pass the GST benefit, a bike that was at 28% GST, like this RTR 310 with 3% cess, effective rate of taxation was 31%. That 31 has become 18. And a bike like the 390 Duke, which is on the other side of the 350cc mark, that goes from 31 to 40. So those bikes become 9% more expensive. And these bikes should become, what is 31 minus 80?
12%, 13% less.
So these bikes should become 13% less expensive.
So 13 and 9.
13 and 9 is the band.
Gap
So the
now.
RTR moves down 13% and the Duke will go up 9%, is how this will play out. So this is an expensive proposition, and you could argue that the GST will make this bike look a little bit more purchasable. I hope that you are using that advantage to confirm the fact that you love the bike and you want one in the garage, not the idea that it has become a better deal.
Correct.
Okay, a motorcycle does what it does. Buying it at a lower price won't make it do those things better.
And on the flip side, just because this is a conversation that has been going around in circles also a lot, that people were, wanting to buy a bike that was 350cc and above, and so it's going to get more expensive. And then people are like, oh man, it's going to get more expensive, so I'm going to drop it. Honestly, a difference of whatever, it may be 30, 40,000 bucks. It's not an insignificant amount, but if it's a motorcycle that you like and you're going for a performance bike, even if it's in a different mood, the idea is you're going for a premium experience. Save a little bit more and get that, and you don't want to downgrade that experience for that 2-3 months of waiting, because that's what it'll come down to for you to save that additional money that you need. Do that, because it's years of satisfaction that you're talking about going forward. And yes, it pinches now, but you'll forget about these GST adjustments in a few months' time. Trust me on that.
And in the same breath, I think that this idea of separating the 350s from the other motorcycles, etc., I don't think this is a very progressive way to think about the motorcycle market. If we are going to achieve world-class products, if we are going to achieve parity with what they are getting and what we are getting, etc., then drawing these arbitrary and random lines in the sand via taxation, etc., it makes absolutely no sense to me. I also had a conversation with some motorcyclists who were really upset about it and all of that. I said, and he says, how is this fair and all of that? I said, I never said it's fair. And effectively, first, there is no appreciation for the motorcyclists, although we are the largest group of traffic. But the guys who are upset are 1% of that group, which basically means we have no voice in this. So whatever protesting we want to do is between us in a small room and nobody's listening.
This reminds me of Ask MotorInc, one of the upcoming apps, and somebody asked this question. So there were 2-3 questions about ethanol, related to ethanol. And somebody asked, should we be worried? I said, worry implies that you have something to participate in this entire ethanol thing, right? There's nothing for you to do. You have to just grin and bear it, and that's it.
Yeah, you don't have a say in the matter.
There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
So aside from going and filing PILs,
you can use other ethanol blends to sort of calm your worries down if you want. Is literally the only thing that I can think of that you do. And if you do that, you don't ride and drive anything right after.
Hello. If you enjoyed this clip, which means you're into good conversations, and that's what we're all about. It's really hard packing in the essence of an idea into a 60-second clip. This 3-minute, 5-minute video would have given you a sense of that. And you can enjoy this entire conversation in its full glory on the MotorInc channel. So why don't you head out over there and subscribe to that? And you could subscribe to this channel as well if you enjoyed it.